They were very aggressive this offseason, which was pretty much anticipated, especially when you're going into free agency with $70 million roughly. Um, they addressed a number of positions. They got free safety. They got, got bringing in a guy like Jesse Bates. They brought in David Onyemata. Adding a guy like Calais Campbell was significant in terms of just adding a guy to your locker room. They made little small moves here and there. Matt Collins and Scotty Miller. I think those are interesting additions. Trading for a guy like Jonnu Smith was significant. Trading for a guy like Jeffrey Okuda. Um, I think those type of moves are, you're kind of sort of rolling the dice on talent. So I would say they got a little aggressive this all season. The one thing that's holding them back, in my opinion, from having an A is not addressing the interior offensive line. I think if they would have did that, they would have earned themselves A minus for me at least. But I think this offseason they did quite well. They didn't hand out too much money. They didn't overpay for anybody, in my opinion. So I give them a B plus.
Okay. So with that being said, Breeze pointed out that we have a lot of 1 year contracts that we gave out in free agency. Now, is that a good sign to you or a bad sign? Like, how do compare? What do you think about 1 year contracts?
I mean, most these GMs, they know what gets the wheels turning when it comes to these players, and it's money. When you have a particular player and you've got an uncertain future hanging over your head, and you kind of sort of dangle that over that player's head, in some cases you're probably going to get the best out of them if they know that their future is up in the air, and depending on how they play this particular year, you honestly may get 1,000% effort from a lot of these players, especially when it comes to a guy like Jeffrey Okuda, who was drafted third overall. Now, normally you would say a guy that's taken that high is almost expected to get a second contract, but he's playing for that second contract at this point. Like he doesn't have a guaranteed fifth year option like he thought he was going to have, and that's now he's playing for his next long-term deal. Same with Bud Dupree. Bud Dupree is a guy coming in on a one-year deal. He's knocking on, I think he's 29 years old, so he's almost at that twilight age of 30 or whatever. He's looking for one final payday. So he's going to come in on a one-year deal and try to, try to get the most out of him when it comes to that. Same with Matt Hollis, same with Scotty Miller. So I don't mind it. And this is how this team has kind of sort of stayed afloat over the last 2 years with these one-year deals. And it's, for the most part, it's paid off fairly well for them.
I would kind of like to hear the pitch they made to Calais Campbell for him to take a 1 year deal in Atlanta, because I did see something, it might have been in one of your spaces, where it was like it was between Atlanta and the Jets. And a lot of people would say like the Jets, especially now with Aaron Rodgers, are like a contending team compared to the Falcons. And it's like Calais Campbell's a older player. He's probably got like maybe 1 or 2, 3 years left at the most. And it's like, okay, what did Arthur Blank say to him, or what did he see to be like, oh, well, I like what they're doing in Atlanta as opposed to what they're doing in New York with an already established, like they have an established defense. Like Calais Campbell can just come in there, be leader guy, and come in on third down or something. But in Atlanta, he's probably going to be expected to do probably a little more, or maybe he's just cool with Grady Jarrett. Like I'd be curious to know how that conversation went.
It was two things. First, Atlanta offered him an opportunity to play a lot more edge than the Jets did. He stated he's been in the league roughly 15 years. So I think he said that he's only actually played natural edge rusher only 3 years of that entire career. So he kind of sort of wants to get back to playing that along with the off the field endeavors that were kind of sort of promised to him by Arthur Blank. The thing about Calais Campbell is he's like, that is huge for him, being able to go be off the field and get back to the community, do things for the team and things of that nature. That is huge for him. You can talk about a guy that was a Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee this past season. I believe he actually won it. So those type of responsibilities are huge for him, not only as a player now, but even post career. I don't think the Jets kind of sort of promise that type of thing. And for Arthur Blank, that's something that's important to him as well. Being able to give back to the community and being able to have that type of stance off the field representing your team. That is something that was almost a selling point for Calais Campbell. So those two things right there pretty much sold him for the most part.
Now, speaking on Campbell, are you buying what he said? I don't know if you saw the Crew interview, the Crew podcast interview, where I'm summarizing, where he said that Smith sat him down, watched Ritter tape, and convinced him that Ritter was the guy. Are you convinced that that's true? And that's one of the reasons why he picked us over the Jets?
You really think he's going to come public with something like that if it's not?
I mean,
he basically said that he was sold on the idea of Ritter over playing with Aaron Rodgers. You really think he's going to go public with that if there's no truth to it?
I mean, I be lying sometimes. So, everybody lies.
That's a hell of a lie.
that's a nasty lie if it's a lie. Oh my God.
Man, look.
I hope he ain't lying, okay?
Where did
I
he
don't
say
think
this?
he is. I don't think he is.
Let me tell you something. You could pay me $100 right now to say the same shit. Okay, I'm just saying. So what if they pay me about $10,000 to say it?
No.
Okay.
I'm not. Ain't no way. Go ahead, Marcus.
No, I was gonna see if I can get a little bit more context. Like, was he asked like, hey, what were some of the reasons that you chose Atlanta, and Desmond Ritter was a reason, or why did you come to Atlanta? And it was, because I saw Desmond Ritter tape. Well, there's a difference between those.
He was asked like, what were the selling points for Atlanta, and he mentioned
so it was one. Okay,
yeah. So he mentioned, the whole position thing and how they're going to allow him to play more edge. He mentioned off the field philanthropy ideas that he had as well. But he kind of sort of slipped in that conversation that he had a sit down with Arthur Smith. And during that sit down, they watched tape of Ritter, and he was like, oh, I can see the tools. I can see what you see in him. So it was one of those things. But again, even for him to say that publicly on a podcast, knowing that millions of people are going to hear it, I can't sit here and say he's going to come out and he's going to say something like that if there's no truth to it. There's no merit to it whatsoever.
I believe it in that context. When you put it like that, then I believe that
he took that aspect and he pretty much handcuffed it to getting text from Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Rodgers saying, "Hey, come play for the Jets." So he merged. Yeah, he put all that together. So yeah. He mentioned that in the same conversation. I think it's pretty truthful there, Lethal. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I mean, I get it. He don't want to play with Aaron. I don't blame him. But I mean, it's nothing that in that same podcast episode, he also came out and said that he feels the Falcons could win 13 games. Look,
I just, hey, man.
You might play as my guy. You know what I'm saying? I love the Falcons. They're dear in my heart. I really do think at this point in time that they are a playoff contender, even with the additions that they made this offseason. But man, 13 games.
He said a lot of words.
I know the NBA kind of stopped drug testing, but like the NFL, they still drug test, Calais. So you might want to be careful about the stuff.
Nah, man, my man got faith. I mean, that's an abundant amount of faith, but my man got faith. Hey,
that's a lot. That's a lot of faith.
That's a lot of faith. You really stepping out on a limb there, buddy. Especially in this day and age of social media, that's going to come back to haunt the team if they win 6 games this year. You said they were going to win 13. Like,
yeah. And if Ritter don't pan out, that's gonna hunt him too. Now, granted, I'm not saying Ritter ain't gonna pan out. I want to give the man a chance. He only did 4 games. I want to give him a chance, see what he can do. He can pan out. I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying you see the tools after 4 games. Like, what other tools did you see that you're saying you're gonna pick him over going to the Jets? You know what I'm saying? With Aaron Rodgers potentially going, great. It's kind of fuck him at this point, but still at the same time, like, oh wait, weighing my options here.
I mean, he's a guy at this point that he wanted to do certain things, and like I said, the playing the edge position, given that particular spot, that was kind of sort of that meant, that was significant to him. And the Jets were going to give him that opportunity. They probably was just going to tell him to kick inside and play defensive tackle full time, and that's probably something he didn't want to do. So, I mean,
I feel him on that. I want to do what I want to do, so I'm gonna go to the team where I want to do it all. I got that, right. But then he said the other part. I was like, wait a minute, that's no, maybe I don't know, but we're gonna see. But speaking of that, I'm not on Twitter that much these days. However, every time I get on, I see you mofos arguing about the goddamn quarterback. Jesus Christ. All right. First, it was the Lamar Jackson stuff. Okay. Me and Marcus discussed that. Go look at the last episode. We're not going to talk about that right now. Lamar staying a Raven? Boom. Let's talk about this draft. Y'all want every quarterback under the sun to be our 8th pick. Okay? Now, these people have said Ritter is our quarterback. He is our guy. So, my question, and what I'd like to know from y'all, is why in the world would we then say that and then go pick a quarterback at 8?
Can I answer that real quick? Because I think I saw someone tweet this, and I think I answered them. They were just like, why would they publicly say, oh, well, Desmond Ritter's our guy. We're committed to him. NFL teams, all sports teams, they always say that whoever is currently there is their guy until someone else becomes available, until someone better becomes available. Like, it literally happened last year not last year, but I guess the year before with Matt Ryan. It's like, yeah, Matt Ryan's our guy. He's our guy. He's our quarterback. And then Deshaun Watson becomes available. It's like, hold on a second, man. Hey, let me go just look over here real quick. I'm just going to call him and see what's up. Like, you're still our guy, but you know what I'm saying? He's available. We're just going to take a look. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody is like Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson was the Jets guy. And then Aaron Rodgers was available. It's like, hold on a second, Zach. Hold on. Let's just take a look. Let's just take a little peek, see what we can do. Maybe, you're still our guy, but we're going to go look. That's the nature of the business. So I'm not really surprised that they would publicly come out there and say, like, oh, yeah, that's our guy. Like, the Colts are saying that Gardner Minshew is here to compete. He's our guy. Like, he's the only guy we got right now. It is what it is.
Okay. So I have a rebuttal to that. Those scenarios are completely different. When it comes to Matt Ryan, you're saying this, but on the back of your mind, he's 36 years old. We didn't draft him. He's not going to be playing here forever. When it comes to, who's the other example that you used? Zach Wilson. They drafted him.
Zach Wilson.
He played